This is Chapter 11, Counting and Permutations. Please have a read of page 297 and make sure that by the end of the chapter you understand all the terms and the items mentioned on page 297. The first thing in the chapter is about listing outcomes. When you throw a dice or flip a coin, that is called an experiment. So a trial is the act of doing an experiment. An experiment is an action that leads to a well-defined result, either heads or tails when you throw a coin. An outcome is one of the possible results of the trial. So getting a 6 on a dice would be an outcome. And the set of all possible outcomes is the sample space. So here is the sample space for throwing a dice. There are a number of ways of listing out your outcomes. I have done out some here. So, for example, I took, if you spin a spinner, which has a 1, a 2 and a 3 on it, that should be A, B and a C on it, and you throw a dice as well. There are 3 ways of listing out the elements of the sample space. If I spin the spinner, I could get an A on that and a 1 on the dice. An A on that, a 2 on the dice. So I have just listed out the outcomes there like one big long sentence. Another way to list out the outcomes would be a two-way table. So an A on the spinner and number 1 to 6 on the dice. Or a tree diagram. A tree diagram can be useful, and that wasn't done very well in the book, I felt. So you get an A on the spinner, a B on the spinner, or a C on the spinner. You get an A and a 1, an A and a 2, and so on. And I've listed out all the outcomes there. So that's ways of showing what outcomes you get. The next thing we need to look at is a deck of cards. Would you learn what's in a deck of cards? It's an important thing to know for the exam. And for your homework, I gave you question 2 to do, which is that question there. The first part was how many cards are in a deck of cards. There's 52. A pack is divided into hearts, diamonds, clubs and spades. There are 13 cards in each suit. The King of Hearts is the card that's mentioned there. And how many picture cards are there? Well, there are 12. 3 there, 3 there, 3 there and 3 there. The next question was question 8, and that involved doing a two-way table. My two-way table is here. So the first question was, how many different outcomes are there? Well, 5 by 4 is 20 outcomes. And then the questions are fairly straightforward. How many of them have an odd number? How many of them have an even number? How many of them have a vowel and an even number? And how many have a vowel or an even number? And they are all listed out there. The last one is the yellow one there is a vowel or an even number. A vowel is all those ones, but these ones here have an even number. So those yellow ones added up to 11. Question 11 was also on your homework. That is it in the book. So into this box I put 1 take 1, 2 take 1, 3 take 1, 4 take 1, 5 take 1, 6 take 1. Over here will be 6 take 6, 6 take 5, 6 take 4 and so on. The solution is here. The first one is what is the most common outcome. The most common outcome was a 1. There and there. What was the least common outcome? The least common outcome was a 5. How many outcomes were odd? 18. How many were even? 12. And how many were prime numbers? A prime number is 2 or 3 or 5. And those numbers came up 16 times. 1 is not a prime number.